Coming up this weekend at flyweight, we have a couple of guys that just never want to let the party die between El Jefe, Jeff Molina, and Zhalgas Zhumagulov. And I absolutely love this fight. I mean, at the channel with Fight Night picks, we're big flyweight fans. And when you look at the guys that are outside of the rankings that are knocking on that door, you know that they're out there to put on impressive performances. And for Jeff Molina, is there a little bit of that Dana White's Contender Series curse with him? I haven't seen it yet. He was able to knock down poor old Argueta 2 times in his first fight. That was a fight of the night at UFC 261. That was a giant card. And when you factor in the fight that Molina was able to have, if I may, Matt, with the old stats. Round number 1, Jeff Molina lands 18 significant strikes. Round number 2, 127 significant strikes and 2 knockdowns. And in that was in the third round. I have my numbers wrong, but in the second round, 44. So he goes from 18 to 44 to 127. Most guys unload the clip very early, especially when it comes to the fighters that we have coming up on this card this weekend. There's a lot of one-round fighters. Jeff Molina is not one of those guys, and I love that. And for Zhalgas Zhumagulov, he's one of those fighters that always is very steady, always has a good gas tank unless he's getting finished. And realistically, you can make an argument that Zhumagulov won his UFC debut against Herrig Paiva. But then when it comes to his 2 other losses to Amir Albazi, he got out Zhumagulov'd in that fight. And then if you look at his last time out about 6 months ago against Manel Kopp, he got posterized by a man who weighed a little bit too much in that fight.
The strange thing about Zhumagulov is that he is well-rounded, but again, not any single one of his just attributes really stands out amongst the rest. I do just like his activity, and that's the good thing about Zhumagulov. He does move forward a lot, but he's one of these strange fighters who he'll crash and crash and crash, and it's almost like he crashes too much distance to where he can't get any extension on his own punches, and now he's just going for like weird high-amplitude takedowns, and it does work against some guys, like the Jerome Rivera fight's a good example of that. But I think it's fair to say that Jeff Molina and Jerome Rivera are on very different levels as MMA fighters, because for Jeff Molina, other than the takedown defense potentially being an issue in this fight, just with the overall work rate of Zhumagulov and how wonky he is with the way he really does everything, I like Molina a lot in this fight. Like, this is the thing. Zhalgas Zhumagulov is hittable. That is the one attribute that he carries into every single fight. He has sort of a stationary defense. It's not a defense that learns as the fight goes on. It's like the Justin Gaethje. I'm going to put my hands up. If you hit my hands, that's cool. If you don't hit my hands, you're probably going to hit my head. But with Zhumagulov, I just don't think he's going to be able to make reads as this fight goes on. And the thing about Jeff Molina, you're right. His volume does get better as the fight goes on, but I think it is slightly different than that. I put Jeff Molina in like a Forrest Griffin category, to where the fight doesn't really start until he gets hit a couple of times. I think he will sort of fight in a more reserved pace early on in this fight, but I think once Zhalgas does start to hit him a couple times, once he does go for a takedown, I think he might be able to secure the takedown for a second, but I do think Molina, not only with his youth, he's so much bigger and more explosive in this matchup too. I think he's the much faster guy. I think he's going to be the stronger guy too. So other than this just coming down to, can Zhalgas outgrind Jeff Molina, I do find myself liking a lot of Molina's singular stats a lot more than Zhalgas.
I will say this for Jeff Molina. I mean, you look at some of the fights that he struggled in, you look at some of the fights that he has won, takedown defense is an issue. And I know he's a Glory MMA fitness guy, and that gym has so-so results. We're supposed to have another Glory guy this weekend who's a good ground fighter in Derek Minner. It's either live by the sword, die by the sword. But when you look at it for Jeff Molina, even in considering Dana White's Contender Series and UFC, Jacob Silva went 2-2 on takedown attempts. Again, Molina ends up winning that fight. And Aruchi went 3-4, but not a lot of control time on the ground. Molina's able to pop right back up. Zhumagulov's a different animal. And here, for you big fans of Mr. Zhalgas, I will give you the credit that you're seeking, and I know you're going to hit the comment section with this. Who has better wins in the resume? Zhalgas Zhumagulov overwhelmingly. Tyson Nam, Tagir Ulanbekov, and Ali Bagautinov all in a row, Fight Nights Global champion at flyweight. When I was in midget AAA whip pitch, I played at Nationals, Matt. Do I talk about it here?
This is so embarrassing.
It has no bearing on anything. It was years ago. For Zhalgas Zhumagulov, we haven't seen that same guy in the UFC. That's my point. So when you look at the fights that he's had, I thought he beat Herrig Paiva, but that's neither here nor there. We throw it out the window. He loses the other fights against Amir Albazi, a primary grappler who out Zhumagulovs him. He beats Jerome Rivera, who was here for a good time but not a long time in the UFC, and he loses to Manel Kopp. Jeff Molina is that perfect middle ground. So I have seen a lot of people talking about Zhumagulov this week. We have a look at the odds. Molina open to minus 200, minus 186 as it stands for Zhumagulov. Open to plus 170, plus 153. So a little bit coming in on Zhumagulov. We have a look at the Tapology votes. Surprise to us as they are to you, Matt. I'm going to say over under 72.5% Molina.
Over.
You're going to say over. It is over. 1,323 votes, 87% Molina, 68% by decision for the 13% that have Zhumagulov, about 60% by decision. So, Matt, the fans seeing this one going the way of a decision to Jeff Molina. Are you in agreement there?
So in baseball, if you want to throw a ball better, you put sticky stuff on your fingers, and then it makes the ball spin a lot faster, and it gives you the result that you want. In MMA, if you want to hit somebody harder, you can plant down and just throw as hard as you can, or you can make them come towards you and meet them halfway. Jeff Molina can strike on the back foot, and Zhalgas Zhumagulov does rush forward recklessly quite a bit, and that's how I see this fight going. Could Zhalgas get takedowns in this fight? Yes, he can, but I think Molina's going to make him pay for every single entry he has. And let's say he is able to secure a takedown here or there. I don't think this control time that he'll be able to get is going to be able to negate the damage that Molina should be able to get off on the feet. Zhumagulov is sort of an odd character to where, even go back to the submission he was able to get on Jerome Rivera, that weird standing guillotine, like, that was an awkward position. So if you are in one of those weird scrambles, then maybe Zhumagulov could find a knack, but I still like Jeff Molina in this fight.
Initial knockdown for Kopp, and then the knockout for Kopp, but it's been about 6 months for Zhumagulov, so the dome should be working, but the guy that I expected was Luke Voigt. The guy that I got was Mike Ford out of Zhumagulov. That's the last baseball reference for me. I like Jeff Molina in this fight. The guy throws the kitchen sink at you. He's not a big kicker, but when it comes down to it, slicker hands, he's much faster, and he has good pop at the end of his shots. And when it comes down to the ground game, good in top control, not the best off of bottom, but he does have a good first move back up to his feet. We shall see how Zhumagulov makes out with those chain wrestling takedowns since he's been training in the States some more. But both of us going with El Jefe Molina in this fight. Be sure to let us know down below in the comments section who you have in some big-time fights on this card. A rematch years in the making between Felice Herrig and Karolina Kowalkiewicz in the co-main event. Dan Ige taking on Movsar Evloev, and in the main event, ooh boy, it's Volkov and Rozenstruik. Keep it locked in with Fight Night picks, as we always say. Let's get into it.